She used to be an actress.
Oh, really? Did she do anything out of scene?
And I think her biggest deal was she starred in a pilot.
Pilot? What's a pilot?
Well, you know the shows on TV?
I don't watch TV.
Yeah, but you are aware that there's an invention called television, and on this invention they show shows, right?
Yeah.
Well, the way they pick TV shows is they make one show. That show's called a pilot. Then they show that one show to the people who pick shows, and on the strength of that one show, they decide if they want to make more shows. Some get chosen and become television programs. Some don't, become nothing. She starred in one of the ones that became nothing.
Kick it!
Yes. Welcome to Couch Pilots. All of you are my friends. It's the show that dares to fly into the unknown territory of awful television pilots of the past. My name is Jason, and with me is my little corn chip. It's Captain Philip Brastisher. Good evening.
Good evening, my friend. How are you?
Good. You remember that phrase, corn chip?
Yeah. Corn chip was like a punk skater dude, right?
I had never heard that before, sitting down with, I think, like you and Scott was like, yes, corn chip, this is what it means.
Yeah.
And we got a pilot today called Curse of the Corn People, and I thought, boy, that reminds me of corn chips. Not the delicious Doritos or Frito-Lay kind, but the punk skater stoner dude.
I like that you actually like try to make this show like relative to yourself and us.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I always try to. Sometimes better than others, but that's fine. Week 2 of our quarantine that's affecting us directly to where we are not podcasting face to face, which is very bizarre.
Yeah,
we've always done it that way.
Me and you have always been podcasting wise. We've been mono. Yeah,
that's what we said. You know what? We're going to podcast. We're going to do it mono. We locked hands. We locked eyes. And I tell you what, Blake. I think we locked hearts.
Oh, for sure. Let's say you, at the time of this recording, we got about 10 days left of this bullshit, right?
As it stands,
Yeah.
Who knows?
So, but I want to ask you right off the bat, being away from me, don't worry, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Being away from me for over a month, how has it felt?
Well, I've lost 25 pounds. So
you needed it.
Wow. That hurts. I was going to say a literal weight lifted off of me, but if I balloon back up,
you're a little puffy. I said it about a month ago. You're a little puffy.
Yeah.
You know what? Because you're happy. That's why. When people get a little puffy, get a little overweight, that means they're happy.
I don't want to be happy.
Me neither, but I am. My belly's happy. That's about the only thing. My dick's not happy. My arms aren't happy. My legs aren't happy, but boy, is my belly happy.
And that's from what, a daily consumption of beer that's like about a gallon's worth?
Yeah, that and a lack of sex.
Gallon of beer a day. And lack of sex will make you happy too, apparently.
No, I meant that's why I'm pudgy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I got to lose some weight. It's not great what's happening.
I think it's more about your hair. The more you let your hair grow out, the puffier your face looks.
You think so?
Yeah, you need to go back to Slim Shady. You need to go back to high and tight.
I think you're saying that just because your hair is cut that way.
Not right now. I haven't had a haircut in 4 weeks. I look like.
Oh my God, 4 weeks? Oh no!
And I've also I decided at the beginning of this quarantine thing that I wasn't going to shave, not trim my face or nothing. I'm not doing anything to my face until this is over. And right now, I look like Moses.
Yeah, it's too bad you won't meet his same end. I have not shaved at all either, and this is the longest my neck beard has ever been. It doesn't look great. And then I was thinking about like buzzing my hair off to nothing basically.
Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna do that and then keep a weird face beard. I wanted to look like a real fucking scumbag.
You want to look like somebody from the Tiger King.
I want to look like one of the many players of the Netflix original docuseries Tiger King. That's correct.
You know what? I watched it all in one day. I was like, this is Making a Murderer, but like redneck style.
I thought Making a Murderer was Making a Murderer redneck style.
No. It was like degenerative poor people style, but this is like redneck, like fucking just like Oklahoma. I loved it. Molly watched the whole thing with me. She was enthralled. It was horrible. It's also a month and a half later, so there's no use talking about it.
I don't know how the lady who killed her husband, I don't know how, like, she was like, you know what? I know how this docuseries makes me look. Go right ahead and let me be a part of it. You know, why would she do that?
Right, and then the guy that had the other zoo with like the cult, like the sex cult that he had going on.
Is that guy still around?
Yeah, and like afterwards he's like, I really don't like how they, depicted me. And I was like, you set up every shot. Like, you set up every shot that was on that.
And he also, I don't know how well you can be portrayed if you have changed your name to the first name being God or adjacent to God. How the hell do you think you're going to be depicted?
Exactly.
Anyway.
But you know what? Kudos to him. He's got some good-looking bitches.
That guy is a genius.
He has got some good-looking bitches.
Yeah, that guy is a genius. God bless him. Write a book. I'll buy it.
Speaking of being...
Speaking of being what?
Speaking of being geniuses, during this pandemic, as they say, we were supposed to start ticket sales for CouchCon 2020.
Yes, we've had a little hiccup along the way, and I hope you at home don't have any hiccups because, as we all know, that's the number one symptom of the coronavirus. But we have a metaphorical hiccup by way of ticket sales.
Right. So originally the tickets were supposed to go on sale on April 6th. That did not happen. There was too much stuff going on in the world. We changed it to they start today. Ticket sales start today. It goes through May 25th. Pardon me. I've been drinking. I apologize.
Yeah, it's a day of the week. You've been drinking, of course.
Right. But one of the things that I was so happy about is, we've toured the world, right? We did CouchCon in England. We did CouchCon in California, right? Something.
We've been to the four corners of the world.
Right. But when we sat down and we had our powwow about this, we were like, let's do something different. We can't get everybody can't travel. This is before Corona. This is way before Corona. We're like, if Dee Dee wants to come to CouchCon, she can't because she's in Australia. You know what I mean? She can't go to England. She can't go to, California. How can we make every single 27 of our listeners have the same experience? And when we thought about this way back at the beginning of the year after CouchCon 2019, we're like, let's do a virtual reality CouchCon.
2 words, baby. VR.
Right. And it just so happened that everybody got quarantined and 20,000 people died.
I don't want to say that we brought this upon the world. I would like to say that you and I are visionaries, though.
Sure. The vision is scary.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of let's just go through kind of what we have so far. Tickets go on sale today through May 25th. You can go to Amazon. You can go to couchpilotspodcast.com. You can go to our Instagram page. You can all the places to order the tickets. And tickets, we raised the price of tickets this year, and it's because we'll tell you why we did. Ticket prices right now are $100 a person, and that's not You're not getting in the door. You're not getting a hotel room. You're getting all access, virtual reality. You're getting a pair of virtual reality glasses. We're going to send them to you.
Yeah, I mean, as much as the ticket prices has raised, guess what? When we were at Madison Square Garden, not everyone that came lived in New York. You had to travel there. That costs money. You had to spend money on food. You can't go to your refrigerator. You're out of town. You have to stay at a hotel or an Airbnb. All these things add up. So are the ticket prices up? Sure. But you are saving a boatload in travel and hotels and food.
And one of the things that we've been known for is our MCs for the event. And we've had some great ones. We were supposed to have Bill Cosby.
Yeah, we were.
And that didn't happen. But we've had some
I would
great...
say it was even better than Bill Cosby because we had Kevin Clark go out there dressed as Bill Cosby in the sweater. He did his stand-up stuff, and he even had blackface on, which, when doing it as an homage, is not offensive.
Exactly. Well, this year we have decided to have a musical guest. Like, when you think of musical guests and you think of virtual reality, who is the band that you want to see? Who do you want to feel like you're right up there, right in front of the stage, no matter what, what are you doing? Are you mixing a cake? Are you mixing a cake right now?
Am I mixing a cake?
Yeah, you're busy moving around. Sit the fuck down.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just going to make a drink. Well, I tell you who I think about when I think about like getting up in the face and virtual reality. I think about pop music. I think about virtual insanity. I think about Jamiroquai. Am I right on or not?
Very, very close. We have the musical guest, Kiss.
We got Kiss?
Kiss is going to...
That's right. Yeah, we did talk about that, didn't we?
Right. And so we have Kiss. We have... and the MC for the event is Ted Cruz, which we...
Yeah, former Republican candidate for the United States presidency, Ted Cruz, and his new beard.
Yeah, I was going to say...
That was part of it. He has to have his beard.
Right. Do you like beard or no beard?
Oh, I want beard.
Oh, I'm all about the beard. I want to be tickled, right?
Why is that why you like the beard? Because you want to be tickled?
Yeah, for sure.
I like it because to me it says, you know what? I ran for president. I didn't get it. Now I'm a laid back, cool guy with a full beard. That's what it means to me. And that's what I want. I want a laid back, cool Ted Cruz. And I think that's exactly what we're going to get.
For sure. Well, we're going to start off the first. Do you want me to run through the schedule?
Yeah, give us a taste of what that looks like.
All right. Well, at 6 a.m. on the first day, Kiss is going to perform the Star-Spangled Banner. Now, remember, folks, this is virtual reality. You're going to have a front row seat no matter who you are.
Yeah, Kiss recently made history by being the first band to perform underwater. They said, you know what, we're going to double down, and we're going to be the first band to perform live for a massive audience in virtual reality.
Yep, and just like at Woodstock, when Eric Clapton played the Star-Spangled Banner first thing in the morning, Kiss said, hey, I want to do the same thing.
And God damn it, we said there's no one else we can think we'd rather have.
Are you cutting a lime right now?
I just got done cutting the lime. Can you hear everything?
I hear everything. I hear your balls flapping back and forth.
Damn it. I forgot my I use a chip clip on those usually to keep them to the side.
Right. From 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., there's a Q&A session with the Couch Pilots crew. All of your favorite Couch Pilots crew members will be available to answer all the questions you have. Submit your questions in advance to couchpilotspod@gmail.com. Baggage Boy, both Eli and... Hello?
Yeah, Lucas.
Yeah, well, I was trying to involve you in it.
Oh, I was trying to have you not hear me squeeze the limes. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on, almost done squeezing them. Okay, there we go.
Wow.
I just want to get all the juice.
That was really great. So, Stewardess Miles is going to be there. Big E, head of security. So, if you have any questions, please, as soon as possible, we're going to have tons of people submitting questions. Please contact couchpilotspod@gmail.com with any of your questions for the Couch Pilots crew.
Yeah, they'll get them answered for you straight away.
Right. And from 10 a.m. to noon, Kebmo Slice and Big E will be DJing the first ever CPVR rave, Couch Pilots VR rave.
Have you seen those raves where people will go into like a club and there's a bunch of wild light show stuff and then everyone's just got like a headset and they're listening to their own music, raving their own way?
Yeah, and that's the way you should be, right?
And it's going to be kind of like that, except it's going to be a VR space. And I'm so excited that they're doing this. We are getting in the world records. The people from Guinness are going to come down. I don't know if you know this. And they're going to monitor all this activity and say this is going to be the largest virtual reality event in history.
Very good. I can't wait for that. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., there's going to be a virtual reality tour of Air Force One and the Captain's Lounge, brought to you by the Baggage Boys, Lucas and Eli are going to take you through a virtual tour of the plane and the captain's lounge. Some stuff that's never been seen before.
Yeah. Well, last week we were talking about disinfecting and waxing down that pole.
Oh, it's been waxed.
You guys are going to get up close and personal with that pole with that tour.
And the VR technology that we have gotten from Tesla, I mean, you're going to be able to lick that pole and know of everybody that's been on that pole.
I wouldn't advise doing it, but God damn it, you can if you want.
I'm just wanting to tell everybody what's available, right?
Mm-hmm. That's how I got hepatitis C.
Well, thank God you didn't get corona.
Oh, thank you.
I hope not.
Well, time will tell. You know what? By the time this is released, I could be already in the ground.
Oh, I'll be sad for a couple days. From 4 to 6 p.m., it's going to be the first ever live Kiss concert virtual reality experience. They're going to play all their hits from that one album.
I told them they better open and close with Love Gun.
Yeah, and they're also going to have confetti, and there's going to be a lot of fire and stuff, and there's going to be some blood coming from Axl Rose. It's going to be great.
Yeah, Axl Rose will be there. I'm very excited to feel that, and because I think as far as I know, each of those guys will be performing separately in their own homes.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. No, we have the technology for sure.
Yeah,
and that's why they agreed to do it so cheap. It's because we don't have to travel. It's just Gene Simmons is going to be standing in his basement in a full makeup doing his part with now you're messing with a son of a bitch.
Arguably one of the best Kiss songs.
Exactly. You know what? The other Kiss song that I love the most.
What's that?
Well, a lot of people's like Beth is the best song, right?
Sure. Yeah.
To me, it's Love Hurts. That's the best song.
Yeah.
But hopefully
the lyrics of that song, I believe, are love hurts and scars and hurts and scars, right?
Yeah. And so they're gonna put on it's at 4 to 6 p.m. But it's light outside. You're not gonna know because you're gonna have your VR glasses.
It could be any time of day you want it to, folks. You want to party first thing in the morning? God damn it, set the settings to exactly that.
And what everybody's waiting for, from 7 to 10 p.m., Couch Pilots Live, CouchCon. It's an exclusive episode. Only people in the VR experience that paid us the $100 are gonna see this episode.
Yeah, and boy, oh boy, are they in for a treat. We already know what it is. Blake and I have committed to watching it a handful of times so we can memorize it, and it is a doozy.
Right. Think about it. You've for like the past 4 or 5 years, you've listened to Couch Pilots. If you haven't been able to come to any of the Couch Cons, you'll be able to see us do the episode.
And for the people that are in attendance, you get to see it once, and then that's it. But I tell you what, if you jump on Patreon and want to follow us, you're going to get that exclusive episode just for you.
Yeah, for sure. And we had what we had. We didn't talk about this. Me and you didn't talk about this, but we have one more thing. People have a wrap party or an after show.
Yeah, I don't know about this. What is this all about?
Well, recent events in our household have kind of prompted this from this happening. After Couch Pilots Podcast Live,
right.
From 11 to 12, the baggage boy Eli is going to go through and show you, kind of like do a tutorial or a TED Talk, may you say, about...
A TED-torial.
Yeah, a Eli-torial about all the porn sites he continues to go on his telephone.
Has that come up again?
It has come up again. And
the kid loves porn. What can you say?
Do you want a little backstory real quick?
Has he been grounded?
Only so much you can ground a kid when he's like quarantined at home anyway.
But let me ask you this. I do want to hear the backstory on his second round. As far as I'm concerned, I'm sure it's the 143rd round. Right. But the second round that you guys are aware of, Blake, shoot me straight. I know that you always do. You are Eli's age. You have pornography available to you 100% of the time in your pocket. How are you not looking at it always?
I don't blame him. But if
you can't blame him.
I don't blame him. I completely understand. I wish it would be like a couple 3 years later.
Why is that?
Well, I think at 12, between 12 and 15, you kind of know like the difference. You know what I mean?
The first time you saw porn was when you picked it up off the street as a kindergartner. Someone left it on the garbage on the side of the street.
Right.
And do you look back at that time and you're like, man, I wish I was 7-8 years from now.
Well, no. Well, look at me now. Like I saw it that early, and look at me now. Like,
Yeah, oh yeah,
you know,
no kidding.
You know. So here's how it went down. I wake up on a Sunday morning, early in the morning. I wake up on the street. My wife says, "We have a problem," and I'm like, "Houston, we have a problem." She said, "This morning I got up and I checked Eli's phone. First of all, he was on the phone like chatting or FaceTiming or whatever with people till 2 a.m, his friends. Okay, that's not good. Second of all," she goes, "I found that he's been watching porn again." And I think to myself, because that's how to refer to myself.
Sure.
The first thing I think of is, I wonder if he's got any sites that I haven't been watching. And he did. He did.
Do you think he's into transsexual sites this early?
No.
Okay.
Just different sites.
What site was he on that you had not been on?
Chatterbox.
That's a porn site?
Yeah, there's a porn site, Chatterbox, and it's one of those things where you like watch people at home do stuff.
Now I love cheeses, and I was on a few weeks ago. I was on Cheddarbox, but I've never heard of Chatterbox.
Yeah. So
wow.
So I proceeded to get on my phone and look that up while my wife was in the room and my brother was in the room, and I'm like, you know what? Can't lie. I can understand why he's on these. That's where you can give them money to do stuff. Like you can watch a live cam, and then you like if you pay money, you can watch them do extra stuff.
Oh, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
I loved it. So Eli, the Baggage Boy Eli, is going to do a special TED Talk on porn sites after our show.
Wow. We've done stuff like that in the past, and you and I have a certain obligation to come by those after parties that all the CouchCon participants are come in for. And we come by and we shake hands and we say hi, we do a few pictures, and then we're usually out the door, you know.
I think we should stick around for this one.
I think I'm going to have to stick around. This sounds incredible. I think there's a lot that I can learn from this younger generation concerning masturbatory manipulation. All right. Well, that's about enough, don't you think?
Yeah, that's for sure. That's enough.
All right.
Let's go ahead and board this plane.
Well done. Look at you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captains have turned on the fasten seatbelt sign.
Hit it.
Today we discuss the pilot episode of The Curse of the Corn People from the year of our Lord 1900 plus 89. That was a great year.
1989 was a good year. I mean, it wasn't a good year for the Roses, but it was a good year. 1989, I was probably 14 years old.
Yeah, that's right, because I was 8, and definitely not a good year of the Roses by your definition for me, and it would be a very questionable thing if you were 14 and fucking.
Well, by this time I had been sexually abused. But we had to talk about that a few episodes ago, and that doesn't count.
I think it has to be a year that you had sex
and liked it and consented,
and you wanted to have it. That's right. So if we had a lady on and it was like, it was a good year for the Roses because I was raped, I would say no, that doesn't count because rape implies that you did not want it.
Are you raped if someone from the same sex does stuff to you when you're little? Is that considered rape or is it molestation? What's the difference?
Oh boy, I think rape is when you know what's going on and you're saying, I do not want this, I am fighting against it, but it happens to you anyway. I think there is a line of rape and molestation that is a blurry line, but straight molestation is when you don't know what's happening and something sexual is happening to you and you don't really know what it is and you can't really say yes or no because, you know, you're just basically following the instructions of someone who is in charge. And in that way, it is almost worse and an awful thing because someone you can't take advantage of a child like that. That's awful. So I would say that maybe wherein lies my personal definition of rape and molestation.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Trevor.
We got a name. 1989, many moons ago. I remember it a little bit, being an 8-year-old boy. I'm sure you remember it a little bit better than I do as a 14-year-old young man. But we have to go back to 1989. In our minds. And to do so, we'll talk about things that happened that year so we can properly digest, take in, understand, and appreciate this pilot in which the time frame that it was made.
Right. But you can't go and watch this pilot today in 2020 during the coronavirus. You can't say, oh, I want to judge this right now based on today. You can't do that because, back in 1989, you didn't have sandwich meat, right?
Right.
Bologna, ham. You didn't have that. You didn't have the ham with the little green things in it.
Yeah, pimentos. Yeah, I don't think bologna had a first name until the mid-90s.
Yeah, for sure. Also, there was no such thing as hepatitis at the time.
Yeah, I mean, talk to Pam Anderson. She would have loved to live back then.
And finally, back in 1989, when somebody said Corona, you were like thinking the beer.
Oh, my God. I'd love to have a Corona beer right now.
And
I can't.
Nope. And they didn't have Band-Aids back then either.
Amen to that. I'll tell you a few things that did happen that year. April 2nd, WrestleMania 5, historic Atlantic City Convention Hall, New Jersey. Hulk Hogan beats the Macho Man Randy Savage for the WWF heavyweight title.
Oh, yeah!
That's one for the ages, right?
Yeah, you'll be happy with me. I killed it on that one.
You killed what?
I killed it on that bumper.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Yeah.
I love Macho Man. It's almost reminiscent of the Village People, right?
Yeah, I like the Macho Man a lot. I liked Elizabeth when back in 1989. Like Elizabeth was like gorgeous, right? She was like the most beautiful woman I had ever seen.
Yeah, I think back then, especially, but pre-internet, our scale for like what we thought sexy women was different. It was basically any woman that was on TV and had like a fair amount of makeup and a dress on. Now that was a foxy lady, and I think Miss Elizabeth falls directly into that category. R.I.P. Right?
Yeah, but she had a beautiful face, though. She really did have a beautiful smile.
Yeah, she was a cute gal.
Here's one for you. If you could only have sex with one of these two women. And nobody else, one time.
Okay.
You have one-time sex last time. Miss Elizabeth?
Right.
Or the woman, Chris Benoit's wife?
The woman, Chris Benoit's wife. You know what? Can I choose Chris Benoit?
No, it's either the woman or Miss Elizabeth.
I choose Chris Benoit.
No, I'm being serious because I have something to say after you make your decision.
Okay, I think between the two, I think the more beautiful woman is probably Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah, and I think that I completely agree with you. I think the woman was ugly, and I'm glad she's dead. Like I don't think she was attractive at all. I don't think Chris Benoit, the Oompa Loompa, was attractive at all. He was a great wrestler, and his oldest son looks just like him, and he looks like an Oompa Loompa. Fuck them all. You know what? Except for the little kid, Derek or whatever his name was, Derek or Deron or whatever. But you know what? Chris Benoit woke up one morning and said, "My wife is fucking ugly. She looks like a man.
Uh-huh.
She needs to die. I'm going to put my knee in her back until I break her spine, and then she's dead. Thank you. I have spoken."
I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I mean, the question that you proposed between woman and Miss Elizabeth, I'd say Miss Elizabeth is more attractive. Where were we in wrestling that a female who is in wrestling is just named woman?
Well, they had nothing. Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, what do you want to name her? You want to name her Scarlet? Nah. You want to name her Barbie? Nah.
Nah.
She's ugly. She looks like a man. Let's name her woman. Okay.
Yikes. Wow. Man, it's funny because I think like the last time I remember seeing the Macho Man Randy Savage or Randy Boffo, as it were,
Leapin' Randy Boffo.
was I think in 2002, 2004 when no 2000 I think it's 2002 when he played Bonesaw in the very first Sam Raimi incarnation of Spider-Man. Do you remember that?
Nope, never saw it.
He played a professional wrestler in the Spider-Man movie. And it's so sad to think he's not around. You know, the Macho Man he was one of those guys who really had a ton of charisma for the time, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. But unfortunately, he ate way too many Slim Jims, died of a congestive heart failure, and a baldness.
Right after his death, did you know that they had limited edition Slim Jims that contained a real Macho Man?
Ooh, I like it.
April 6th, National Safety Council of Australia, Chief Executive John Fredericks is arrested after defrauding investors to the tune of $235 million.
Why does it take you so long to bust somebody? They have to take $250 million from you before you bust them out?
Isn't that unreal? Oh. What would you do if you had that much money? Like, say you had that much money and you got away with it scot-free, unlike John Frederick. What would you do with it?
First thing, I would force 4 women to marry me. I'd buy them each a house. I would rig up a reality show where I went and boned all 4 of them throughout the week.
Sure.
And then I would make movies that I wanted to make because I'm a big movie buff. I don't know if you know this about me. I'm a big movie buff.
From what I know about you, that is almost the exact opposite of what I would say from you. But you're saying you are a movie buff.
Yeah, and then I would have a little bit of money left over. I would buy a bowling alley.
What kind of movie would a Blake Clayton make?
What kind of what?
Movie.
Oh, they said what kind of move? I was like, I'm going in the booty.
All ass all the time.
What kind of movie? I would make a movie. It would be very dark. It'd be very depressing. It'd have a lot of comedy in it, like just like real dark comedy in it. And at the end of it, the little boy would be molested by a guy in a pickup truck.
Jesus Christ. I would make a shot-for-shot remake of Dude, Where's My Car?
Of course you would.
April 15th, the death of Hu Yaobang in China sparks the beginning of the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests.
Who you bang?
Yaobang.
You bang Yaobang? Who you bang?
I bang Yaobang too.
Ah. Who was he? Was he like a politician?
I don't know who that was. I'm going to guess it was that guy. Actually, I don't know. The famous Tiananmen Square thing where that tank is like runs over that guy, you know?
Never saw that.
Oh, don't watch it. It's awful. I don't know who Yaobang is, but have you personally ever protested for anything in your godforsaken life?
Let me think about it. Hold on a sec. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Hey, you don't need to say anything right now. We got background vocals. Have I ever protested? No, I have never done it. Have you?
Protest for anything. What would you protest for?
What would I protest for?
Yeah.
I think I would protest. God, what would I protest for? Probably sex workers, like their rights.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, like free testing, the ability to make currency in exchange for sex. That's probably what I would do.
Right. Goods and services rendered.
Yeah. What about you? Have you ever protested? Oh, I know you have.
Oh, what did I protest for?
I don't remember, but I know you've done something. Am I right?
I held the door open for a lady one time.
Oh, that's negative. I thought you did something, like you went to a rally or something.
Oh, that was for my uncle, who's in the it's okay. Officially, it's the Ku Klux Klan, but it's not what you think. It's not like the old Klan. It's the new Klan. And I went to a protest there. I just came to hand out flyers. I'm not even a part of it.
Right. You're an innocent bystander. You're just a flyer passer outer.
Yeah, he said, can you come pass out some flyers for my club? I said, sure. I show up and everyone's wearing fucking white robes and stuff. And I was like, is this like the Ku Klux Klan? He says, what's that?
He's like, nah.
Well, he's like, it is, but it's not. And I said, well, give me the flyers then. And so I started handing them out.
There's been
why do we? Oh, what's that?
Right before you say that, there's been many a times where we have done podcasts, face to face.
Almost 500, I'd say.
Yeah, to where I've looked at you and I was like, I made a little hand gesture. There's a specific hand gesture I make to you that tells you, hey, you're in charge of writing this out for a few minutes.
Thank you.
And I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to give you the hand gesture. Write this out for a few minutes. I got to pee.
Oh, my God. All right, go ahead. What a bad time to do this. Not only are we separated by miles due to the coronavirus, but I was about ready to wrap up this segment of the show. Surely I could go on by myself on the next part, but he's got to transition it with one of our bumpers. Man, that is awesome. Anyway, why did we choose to watch Curse of the Corn People? No one asked me. Well, 3 reasons, and they're the 3 pillars on which couch pilots are built on, and that's it has to be a television pilot that was made and either aired only once or perhaps it didn't air at all. Also, it has to be available to be seen. What good is a pilot if it cannot be seen? It might as well be a tree falling in the forest with no one to hear it. And finally, it has to be free. Blake arguably is made of money, but like a crappy currency like Venezuelan money, which is worth almost nothing, where I am not made of money. And subsequently, cannot pay for any of these pilots that we are watching. So free, available to be seen, and a television show that only had 1 episode. These are the pillars of Couch Pilots. So you're probably asking yourself beyond that, where can I watch the entire episode of Curse of the Corn People? You can do so by subscribing to Couch Pilots in SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app of choice. And then simply click on one of our classically blue links in our show notes, or go to YouTube. Blake, are you back?
You know what to do, Tube. Oh, wait. Are we taking off? Yeah.
Yeah, fucking press the button.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
God damn. And again, folks, we're during the coronavirus, quarantine thing. This is not us really taking off. This is a soundbite. We are bamboozling you.
Well, let me ask you this, Captain Bamboozle. I'm not in the room with you there. You have to take a piss. Why don't you just get a goddamn 5-gallon Lowe's bucket and have at it right there in the room?
Well, because I don't have a 5-gallon Lowe's bucket in the studio.
All right, we'll get whatever. I know you have empty cans in there.
Those are for spit only. Spit only? Hey, spit only.
Boy, great film. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Summary of the pilot. A group of Kansas friends in their 20s undertakes the making of a horror movie.
This is tricky because I never watch the summaries unless you talk about them first, right?
Thank you.
And I don't know anything about the pilots before I watch them, then I research them. I'm going to give this a D+.
D+.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It does. I give it a D+ because read the title to me. The title is
Curse of the Corn People.
And the pilot summary confuses me. I'm going to give it a D+.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Look, get ready to press the bumper here. Interesting fact. Press it immediately.
I did already.
Press it right now.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Interesting Facts. This is the part of the show where Jason has lightly scoured the internet to find facts about this pilot that you may not know about. One thing we ask you, and the only thing we ask you as listeners, is A, you download, and B, don't share your opinions about these facts. It's more like this.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bicycle. God damn it.
Stop saying that. The more you say that, the more it's going to keep happening.
I know. I'm just egging them on.
It's no good. It's a bad move.
Wait, I'm not done yet. Please don't share your opinions about these facts. Don't taint someone else's experience. Keep them to yourselves. Jason, proceed.
Part of the CBS Summer Playhouse released August 1st, 1989.
Fact.
This was, I believe, the CBS Summer Playhouse to have only ran for about 3 years, 87, 88, and 89. And this was episode 7 of season 3, probably winding down the series as a whole. Now, we have plenty still to mine from the CBS Summer Playhouse, but as far as when it actually aired, this might be one of the last ones that actually was on television.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, not for you to say. Stars Catherine Keener, probably the biggest star that came out of this program, as Jan Engel. You may know her from The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Being John Malkovich, and the hit film from Jordan Peele, Get Out.
Which one was she in this one?
She was the one who was the girlfriend of Eric, who wanted him to pursue the management program.
The one with the girl with the gap teeth in her mouth?
The gap-toothed bitch who made all the fucking bread, who was screwing around on Eric on the side with a guy named Fred.
Fred's riding Fred. You ever heard that song by Rodney Carrington?
No, but is that a gay song?
No, it's Fred's riding Fred. It's about a guy on a horse. The guy's name is Fred, and he's riding a horse named Fred.
Very good.
Check it out.
Also stars Daniel Baldwin as Guppy. You may know him from the rebooted television program Hawaii Five-0, Grimm, and Cold Case. Fact. This is Daniel Baldwin. I believe he is the older brother of Alec Baldwin and Stephen Baldwin and was it Billy Baldwin, I believe, the Baldwin brothers.
Was he the only sane one?
He was the guy who was kind of like, he wasn't in very much. He was in right at the beginning and right at the end. He was the guy who did like the stunts with the car.
Oh, I got you.
And oddly enough, not only does he kind of look, he looks like he does now a little bit, but he also sounds like a Baldwin. They have those very distinct voices. Finally, stars Troy Evans as Gil Ludke. You may know him from Bosch, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Thank God some of these actors went on to be in something that was good.
That guy was the boss who was trying to get Eric
Who?
in. Huh?
Who's the boss?
Tony Danzer. Wow.
Wait, hold on, wait for it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The beginning of your laugh sounds like you're trying to turn over an engine that won't start.
That's my wife.
Oh, shut up. Twitter responses.
Twitter responses. Hopefully Jason got some Twitter responses.
I did, actually.
What? Oh. Hold on a minute. Hold on. I got a special effect for you. Did you get some Twitter responses?
I got a bunch of them.
All right, continue.
And again, for all the listeners at home, Blake and I are separated by miles here.
You gotta keep them separated.
Who sang that song?
Huh?
Who sang that song?
Limp Bizkit.
It was the Offspring.
Oh.
And Blake and I are separated by miles, and how we have this set up here, I can't hear the little audio drops that he does.
Oh,
so if he's referencing them, I don't know what he's doing. I'm sure they're wonderful.
You just wait for them. They're going to be good.
I'm not going to wait. Okay, so basically when it comes to Twitter responses, what we do is we reach out to the writers, directors, producers, creators, and the actors involved in some of these pilots, and we say, greetings from the Couch Pilots podcast. We talk about TV shows that had only one episode. Next up for us is Curse of the Corn People. We're excited to watch it, and we're wondering if you had any fun or interesting info you'd want to share. Thanks. Hope to hear from you. Well, the first one that we hear back from is Guppy himself, Daniel Baldwin. Again, actor and older brother of Alec Baldwin. He's been in his fair share of movies over the past 30 years. Alec Baldwin says yes, or Daniel Baldwin, rather. He says yes. I have a few. as far as info you'd want to share. And I got that back pretty quick, and I was like, oh, great. I said, thanks for responding. Care to share any? Radio silence. So thanks for letting us know you have stories about Curse of the Corn people, and just why don't you keep them to yourself? Let us know that you have them, but please don't share them with us.
Typical Baldwin, right?
I'd be pissed too if I was third rate. Next person who responds back to us is a lady who goes by the name of Danielle von Cernik. Now, this woman, I believe, was Holly Hagen, and she was kind of the friend, former love interest of, I would say, the main star of the film, and that was Frank, the guy who was, wanting to make this horror film in his hometown. And I sent her the same information, and she responds with, we shot it in Greeley, Colorado, and the smell of the nearby abattoirs was overwhelming. Now, what do you think an abattoir is?
Well, it's blue people that when they get on a horse, they stick their tail in the horse's tail, and then they become one.
Now, sometimes words can have two meanings, so technically you're correct. But abattoir also means like a slaughterhouse.
Oh, okay.
And I said, some smells you simply cannot get used to. Thank you for responding. How did you get involved with this project? Radio silence. I have to rethink my approach here, and I do for the third Twitter response. Next is Darren Daulton, and you can find him at Mr. Wright, and that's WRITE. And he was a fella, and he was a big part of this program too. He was Eric. He was the man who had a managerial position at the factory that him and Guppy and Frank worked at, and ultimately was offered a position in management, but decided to stay with his buddy and finish this film. Darren Daulton was nice enough to say, holy blast from the past, a great time. And kissing Catherine Keener? Yes, please. And I said, boy, that would be a career highlight for me. You have been part of some iconic projects. How did you get involved with this one? He says, the normal channels on that one, a bazillion auditions culminating in a network test. I love the idea. A small group of people working regular jobs get together on weekends to film a low-budget horror film. Set in Kansas, maybe. That was a long time ago. And the 90s. It was technically the late 80s, but it may well have been the 90s. I said, we have seen a lot of pilots that don't end up going anywhere. And I have to say, this is one of the most original ideas we've come across. Any idea why this didn't go forward? Darren Daulton responds, the original idea and script had much more edge. Remember the factory I remember the factory I visited to research. The character's day job was blasting Jimi Hendrix. Those kind of details were thrown out with spelling, meaning Aaron's spelling. This was an Aaron spelling project.
Of course.
Too much 90210 and not enough A Quiet Place. So he was basically saying there, if this would have been a little bit more raw, a little bit more real, maybe we would have got some traction. It was maybe a little too 90210 Aaron spelling-ish. I said, oh, what could have been? I think your assessment is spot on. Thank you for responding, and continued success to you. And Darren ends it with saying, it was like bumping into an old girlfriend. I appreciate the look back. Safe piloting. So thank you so much, Danielle von Cernik, whatever minimal effort Daniel Baldwin put into responding. And thank you so much to Darren Daulton. I really appreciate your insightful look at the past and this project. We genuinely do appreciate that very much. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and put 10 minutes on the clock.
Nope.
What's that?
I have to say, we need to put Darren on the Couch Pilots Hall of Fame when, next to Michael Ian Black, next to some of the people. We need to put him on the Wall of Fame.
Can I mention someone who's on the Wall of Fame real quick?
Sure.
I'm going to mention two people. Okay. So we have over the years of doing Couch Pilots, we've had varying degrees of interaction with some of the producers, directors, writers, creators, and stars of some of these shows. One man who overtook Thomas Hayden Church, his character of Lowell Mather, for our rating system when it comes to the Couch Pilots rating system for the program Wings, is a guy who starred in one of our pilots called Puchinsky. His name is Brian Haley.
Brian Haley.
I want to give a massive shout out to Brian Haley. I follow him on Twitter, and very recently I found out that he is helping set up hospital tents for coronavirus.
Oh, that's awesome.
He is out there on the front line helping and creating spaces for people to get treatment and tests. And what a class act that gentleman is. So big ups to Brian Haley. I also want to give a shout out to maybe a top tier responder here for us, and that is Greg Garcia.
Oh, love
we
that
know
guy.
Greg Garcia he's had a couple pilots, including Fugly, as well as 2 different versions of Super Clyde. You may know Greg Garcia as the producer for such television programs as Raising Hope and My Name is Earl.
Guest book.
And Guest Book. That's right, on TBS. Greg Garcia has found himself in a self-quarantine and is releasing home videos of him and his children from the past, and they are wildly entertaining. If you find yourself bored in self-quarantine, won't you please follow Greg Garcia? I believe his handle is @WhoIsGregGarcia. And very entertaining videos there. Thank you, both Brian Haley and Greg Garcia, for being members of the Wall of Fame for Couch Pilots.
And thank you, Darren, too.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and put 10 minutes on the clock. Curse of the Corn People. Blake, tell me about it.
I love that Summer Playhouse intro. It's very 80s, kind of like stop motion, a lot of color. It's happy. It's
I couldn't look at it. I disagree with you. It's jarring. It's retro, but I had to look away. I felt like I was going to have a stroke looking at that.
Okay. That's fine. We have some jamming music. There's a title screen, and then we have the character introductions.
It's a weird title screen because it shows the title of the program. It's like looking through a window, looking outside. But to me, that has nothing to do with anything for the rest of the program.
And you know what? The rest of the program has nothing to do with the title as well. So we get some fast car. There's a fast car in New York, and we have a kid watching TV.
Yeah.
And a motorcycle, right? The guy on a motorcycle in a small town. He had a fast motorcycle. I was going to anywhere.
That Tracy Chapman?
Huh?
Tracy Chapman?
Yeah, no, it was Trixie Chapman. You missed that one.
It's funny you say that. A friend of mine just today, he knows that I love the band Tool, and I know you like to give me shit for that. But he said, check out this song by Tracy Chapman. It's called Heaven's a Place on Earth or something like that. And he said it sounds a lot like Tool. And I listened to it, and he was right. It was great. I like Tracy Chapman. Anyway, a bit of a tangent there. At the beginning of the film, I think it's kind of setting up this main character and his love for the cinematic. And he's watching the French Connection, and not only the French Connection, but he's watching the infamous, arguably the most profound chase scene in all of cinematic history, and that's when Popeye Doyle. We actually watched a pilot off of Popeye Doyle, but it was at the time it was played by Gene Hackman, and the guy's he's almost watching it a little too intensely, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. He has everything but a pen and paper in his hand.
I've seen a lot of films with something else in my hand. Looks like a small Midwestern town that they're in. We find out that it is Kansas. A lot of flat fields. And this guy apparently is known around town as the movie guy, and he works in a factory as a quality control guy testing sauce. And we see that he's kind of working on a script. His name is Frank.
Yeah, Frank, for sure.
And then who do we meet next?
Mrs. Hager?
Yeah,
No?
it's Hager or Hagen. I think her first name is Holly. Does that sound right?
I don't know. If you could see I want to send you a screenshot of my notes. I was so drunk, I don't think I can read my writing on any of this. So
I'm telling you, man, you got to get that 5-gallon Lowe's bucket. It's going to come in real handy. Mrs. Hagen is also looking at the script.
and she's a teacher, right? She's a teacher.
Yes.
So it's the blonde chick, right?
Yes, it's the blonde chick, Mrs. Hagen. This is the girl who responded to us, Danielle von Verbenschmatt, or whatever her name was. So you got another scene, and basically this is going through some of the heavy hitters, the people who are heavily involved in making this film, and them looking at the script and kind of making revisions. I like this.
Yeah.
I like the part that this is like, these are not executives. These are not people that are in the Hollywood game. These are just regular folk who have a day job. We get to see a little bit of what that is. and we get to see that their passion is writing for this script, and they're trying to knock it out any way they can.
Right, and they're making sacrifices. They're giving whole weeks' paychecks to help Frank make. I mean, they're giving their actual paychecks. They're not signing the back of it or anything. They're not endorsing it. They're just giving him their paychecks for a whole week.
And if they're not signing it, it's virtually worthless.
Jason, if I said, hey, I want to make some changes to the podcast or some things I want to do, can I have a whole week's pay?
Without question.
You would give it to me?
Without question, I'd hand it right over.
Oh, really?
So Guppy is there, too, and Guppy, again, is Daniel Baldwin, and he works with Eric and Frank. Eric and Frank have been friends forever, and so all these guys work together, and they're all working together on the film, and they said, well, we got some recording equipment for this project. Like, fantastic. So Frank, he gets home to his house, and his little brother Steve is there, and he has to kind of keep on Steve. He's a younger high school guy, and he's got to keep on him to keep up with the housework and stuff.
Right. He for some reason the parents are not around, and Frank is in charge of Steven, and Steven just wants to lay in his bed. You know, at this time there was no internet, so he's just like listening to music on his little headphones, you know, reading whatever he's reading. And just
before the internet, like, 'cause right now I use the internet to masturbate.
Yeah.
But back then you couldn't do that. All you could do back then was thinking about masturbating. You couldn't even do it back then.
No, you just like if I could see live video of naked ladies, I would jerk my hand on my penis.
That's exactly right.
And eventually I would come in my own mouth.
I don't know about that last part.
Really?
Next scene, you have Mrs. Hagen, who Holly. She's a young lady. I make her sound old when I say that, but she lives at home, and her mom's there, and she's basically saying, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you working on this movie for? I want you to focus on having a romantic life. You already have a career as a teacher. Why don't you focus on finding a man?"
Well,
and this girl is dedicated.
Yeah, she's like, Frank's the man. I love that. Yeah. I live in the middle of Kansas. I have nothing else going on in my life. My buddy Frank, who I am seriously in love with, I've always been in love with, is making a movie. I'm going to give him my paycheck, and that's all I can do.
That's all you can do. So next we go right to a shooting scene. And this is like, I feel like we're getting some build up to them maybe talking about the film, making the film, maybe some of the problems they're having, but we go right into them on a highway or whatever, like an old back country road, shooting the film they're actually working on, and we see a motorcycle wreck.
A motorcycle?
I'm sorry. Then we see there's a scene with the police. They're basically cutting to different little things. We're filming this, we're filming this, we're filming this for the movie, we're filming this. And they cut to a policeman, and the policeman pulls up in his car, and he's talking to a woman, and he just can't get his cadence of the line right. He's like, what are you doing out here, Cassie? And he's like, no, don't say it like that. But the guy just can't get it right. It's kind of funny.
His name is Neil.
Oh, that was Neil?
Yeah, Neil's in my notes Neil is Sheriff Number 1.
Okay.
And not because he was good.
Yeah, just because he happens to be the first one we see.
And then they cut to they start to do there's a hearse that needs to crash. And so they get an actual hearse, and the guy's like, "Hey, this is no problem. I rigged it up. It's not gonna." He's like, "Hey, we're borrowing this. We can't wreck it, right?"
Yeah, and that's Guppy. That's Daniel Baldwin's character. And so he says, "Don't even mess it up at all. We got a few touch-ups we got to do later." But he does exactly the opposite. He flips the car and he completely totals it. And right before that happens, actually, a local shows up, and he's a young guy. He's like, "Hey, this is my dad's land. He's the farmer. Oh, you guys can't be here. I don't know what you're doing." And they basically kind of sweet talk him into letting them use the land by getting him now involved with the film.
Yeah, sure. And that's the way you do it. You somebody comes up to you, you're doing something you're not supposed to do. They confront you about it. The best thing to do is like lure them in.
Absolutely.
Like Trevor.
Make them apart. Oh, God. So Eric then is approached at work about a management class. He's like, "Hey, next 30 weekends, clear your schedule. We want you a part of this. There's no question you are the candidate for this company to take this management class. You're the future of this company." And he's like, "You know what? I don't know that I can. I've got plans." He's like, "Bigger than your future?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, just think about it and let me know."
Yeah, I got bigger plans in my future. I'm going to have a wife, I'm going to have kids, and I'm going to make money as a management position. What's bigger than that? A B-rated horror movie.
Yeah. Later, Frank is working on a car with an old lady. Her name is Greta, and Greta likes Frank. She thinks he's a good boy, and she says, "I'm going to allow you to use my antique clocks for your shoot." I don't know how that fits in, and we don't find out, but it's definitely part of their conversation. And then at the high school where Steve goes, again, this is Frank's younger brother, Steve. Steve has got a bad attitude, and he gets smart with his teammate, who's clearly like a captain or in charge, a senior member of the team. And then he gives Steve some shit. So Steve then starts a fire in his locker, and he's an idiot.
Did you ever even think about in high school, because obviously a lot of people picked on you.
Every day. Did
you ever think about setting a fire in one of their lockers?
No. I would often fantasize about setting fires in the beds of my bullies, but never their lockers. I didn't feel like that'd be very effective.
Okay.
We're at a diner, and Eric has a meal with Jan, and Jan is played by Kathleen Keener. Again, she's probably the biggest actress that came out of this by far, and I think he's kind of with her. They talk about almost plans of the future, and she's mad that he isn't taking the management class through work.
Right. And if you were her and your boyfriend who has, wouldn't you say, hey, let go of this dream that you've had since high school? Just,
Yeah, I think that's kind of putting a stigma on it. Anytime you are forcing someone to your will or what you would like to be done, even if it is in that person's best interest, you're going to push them away from the thing that they probably should be doing. And she's doing a bad job of trying to convince him to let go of this silly thing that he's working on.
My next note is former drug girl, toilet, cherry bomb.
Yeah, she's kind of hanging around the movie, too. Do you know what that note means?
No.
Okay. There's another girl that we don't really get to know very well, but she kind of hangs around the movie. She's working on the movie. She seems like she's working with the crew and even to some degree the special effects. And Frank and Steve, I think they live alone. I think this is a part of the film where we find out that maybe their parents left them there. Are you baking a cake now?
Yep.
All right.
It's called a beer cake.
What number beer is this you're on?
Since we started recording or since I got home?
From 12 a.m. today.
7.
7. So it sounds like the Frank and Steve. Frank's probably in his early 20s. Steve's still in high school, maybe like 17. It seems like they live alone, and their parents call to check up on them, and maybe they left for like a job somewhere. Because at one point Frank's like, for exposition, he says, I want you, you want Steve here to finish out high school in a place he's familiar instead of uprooting him and taking him into a place he doesn't know about.
Yeah, it's very like cloudy, the relationship with their parents.
And maybe that's purposely, because a lot of times there can be some time between the making of the pilot and the beginning of production of a show if it goes forward. And maybe they wanted to leave themselves a little room to make adjustments if needed. Anyway, the effects lady that you mentioned, she was talking about turning her life around. And she says, I was into some bad stuff, but working on this movie with Frank, he's really helped me and gave me like a focus and a purpose. So kind of maybe unintentionally, Frank is bringing together some misfits and helping them, stay clean, do a good thing, maybe focus on something that isn't negative.
Oh, okay. Do you want to do drugs or you want to make a movie? I'm doing drugs all day.
Yeah, me too. Sign me up. Frank then talks to Greta on the phone. This is Greta's the old lady with the antique clocks. And while he's talking to her, we get a nice shot of her in her house sitting on a chair in front of a ton of antique clocks.
Right. Just to drive it home.
Yeah, I love that. I thought that was ridiculous.
And so there's something to do with a farmer who is losing his land, and Eric or Frank is like kind of bothered by this, right?
Eric goes home from his work at the job at his the factory. I think it's like a sauce factory or some shit. I don't know. You can ask Kevin Clark about sauce. And Eric is just talking to his dad, and he says something about selling his land. His dad, everyone, you see the setting of this place, and it's just all open farm field as far as the eye can see. Tiny little ramshackle towns. This is a farmer's territory. So his dad says, he's told him at one point, I'm never going to sell this land, but now it's looking like he may not have a choice.
It reminds me of the John Cougar song. Scarecrow on the wooden cross, blackbird in the barn. 450 acres used to be my farm. Grew up like my daddy did. My grandpa built this land. When I was 5, I walked the fence while grandpa held my hand.
What's another John Cougar Mellencamp song you like?
Little Pink House. Oh.
My baby.
Nope. Well, that one too. Let me do another one, then I'll do that one. Go ahead and intro me in again.
Hold on. You just sang a John Cougar Mellencamp song. I want you to sing 2 more. Go right ahead.
I want to dance naked. I hope that you will join me. And then, here's the other one. My baby is a cry baby. She sits on my lap and balls. My baby is a top mechanic. She works with my nuts and tools. She'll do. She go down. She go down. Is it 10 minutes up yet? Jesus Christ.
It's about up. Let's see. The next day, while out and about, Frank, Holly, and Eric see Jan, who is Kathleen Keener. They see her with another guy, and Eric is hurt and then distracted the rest of the day while working on the movie.
Would you be distracted?
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. That really hurt my feelings.
I don't like it.
Jan shows up at Eric's place later, and he's pissed.
Yeah.
And he should be.
Yeah.
But then they talk, and he ends up kissing her anyway.
Right. That confused the hell out of me. I was like, Eric and girlfriend having a fight, kissing.
He's like, have you been seeing this guy, Fred? And she's like, not much. And he's like, fuck you, man. That's the wrong answer. What are you talking about? Why are you seeing this guy? But back on the set, the guy who wanted them off their land earlier, he's now kind of like working on the film. He impresses Holly with his appreciation of her script, and thus begins maybe a little budding romance between them. Steve shows up with a hearse that he stole for Frank, and Frank is pissed. He's like, what are you doing? Why did you steal this? You can't do that.
And then they end up having a fight in a cornforld. A fist fight, a wrestling match in a cornfield.
Later, for some reason, it's snowing, and the farmer guy, and Holly get real comfortable in a vehicle.
Because the farmer guy has taken over the role as sheriff because the other guy did so bad. And so he's taken over the role as sheriff, and it's very sexually charged.
Absolutely it is. Eric then confronts Frank and says he needs to take the management opportunity with his company, and then they argue like a couple of women.
I quit.
Yeah.
Which you told me tons of times you're going to quit this podcast, but I won't let you.
It's almost like sometimes I go to leave and you're like, isn't there something you want to tell me? And then I look around and say, I quit, and then I stamp off.
Well, no, I say, is there anything you want to tell me? And you go, yeah, quit spitting in your garage.
Later, there's some equipment that they were going to be able to use for free. Apparently, it was sold. It was stored so long and not used for so long that the place who had it, I don't know if it was like a school or what it was, they just ended up selling it because they weren't using it. And so, super bummed, Frank gets back to the set only to learn that the Greta, the lady with the antique clocks, was in a bad accident. And so he goes to the hospital to see her.
Right, because earlier he had been fixing her car, and he was like, hey, I'm not done yet. I'll come back in a couple days. So he was worried that she drove the car that he was supposed to fix.
Yep.
And that's what he was freaked out about. Guess what? Not the case.
Not the case, thankfully. He had blamed himself, but he didn't know the truth because Greta was in a coma or something. But later still, Holly and Frank is really making the rounds at this point. Frank and Holly are at a drive-in football game. Have you ever seen a high school football game where you could drive up close to the field and just watch it from your car?
Yeah, in Kansas and in Texas and places like that, yes, you can do that.
So he basically, this is him elaborating on his love of film and his history of love of the film. And then after the game, there was a bitchin' local diner that's the hot spot in town. Did you love this diner?
It's pretty cool.
You don't remember it at all, do you?
Nope.
It's awesome. His own teammate starts to give him shit at the diner. He's like, hey, turns out your brother is a fucking idiot, like trying to make this movie. No one in your family can do anything right. So then Steve like fucking fights it out with this guy who started his locker on fire. Anyway, the next morning, Frank sees that it wasn't the car that he was supposed to work on for Greta that got an accident. So like you said, he basically feels a reprieve of guilt that he was supposed to work on that car. And then at yet another local diner, everyone from the film is there. And Frank is kind of saying, things are really low right now and I'm sorry. And he almost kind of gives like a wrap-up speech of maybe it's not going to work out. I don't know. But then Eric shows up to Frank's place at the end.
Yeah.
And he go ahead.
He has like a car that they turn into a hearse.
Yeah, what's something I noticed is that like if Frank was working on like the sink or something, he was under the counter like working on some pipes, and Eric just walked into his house. Did you notice that? They make up there basically.
It's kind of like when you walk into my house.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just got to get in their fridge. I reach for your bologna.
My bologna.
They kind of map out upcoming challenges as far as them what they're gonna have to do to make this movie, and ultimately what future episodes of the show would look like, I think. And later he goes into his brother's room, his little brother Steve, and says, "I'm gonna need your help." And Steve's like, "All right, thank you. Finally, I'm getting involved. Finally, you appreciate me." And then Guppy completes a successful stunt, and the whole crew claps.
Yep, and we're gonna go ahead and go to Turbulence.
Before we do that, I'll say Pat Sajak, when he had a TV show, Mr. T and Ray Combs are guests tonight, and then you can stick around and watch the television program Sins.
Please remain seated as we are now crossing a zone of turbulence.
I'm mad at you because you did not put the 10-minute timer on.
That was just under 10 minutes.
I don't believe you. I think you're lying.
Well, usually I'm not recording the program on my phone, the very same device in which I put the counter, so I apologize.
That's all right.
Why didn't the Curse of the Corn people work?
I'm going to say
this is a genuine question this time. I really want to know.
I'm going to get my notes out.
Are you falling down the stairs?
I wish I was after
also
watching this show.
What?
First of all, it didn't work because the title had nothing to do with what the show was about.
Yeah, this is a bad title.
So just to give you a little insight, I said, "Hey, Eli, watch this show with me." He goes, "What's it called?" I said, "Curse of the Corn People." It's probably going to be scary. And it was the complete opposite. I had the mindset that I was going to watch like a teen horror movie because of the title. Yeah. Watched it, and I watched 90210 Goes to Kansas.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'd say if this were to survive, I think there's plenty of material here. I like that there's a small town setting and you have all these different characters. I tell you what it does suffer from a little bit. That's a lack of diversity. I'm not usually the one who comes out and starts toting or saying that I'm a woke individual, but there's not a black or an Asian fella or a Mexican among them. You know what I mean?
There's no Negro, Spic, or Asian at all.
I don't know if the S word is the right one to use there, but yeah, there's really no diversity here.
Mulatto.
If it were to go forward, yeah, I mean they're making this film.
But how long does it take to make this film? A whole.
Yeah, and they're part of the problems with the film. I think it slows down in the parts where it really tries to capture the minutia of actually making a film. I mean, I think you can do things where you're not saying, okay, we got to set this up and this up and this up, and in that, the show slows down a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think there's a lot of It doesn't have to be. You had it right when you said The Curse of the Corn People is the wrong title. 100%. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out that they had a couple other titles in tow. Something we never did find out is what is the name of the town? Okay, I think if they called it the name of the town, say, what's a good name for a small town in Kansas, Blake?
Michelob.
Okay, what if the show was just called Michelob? Right?
No, just like Taylorville or Bison City.
Yeah. Well, I think if you called it the name of that small town, because at the heart of this thing, you are following people in a small town. Call it that.
Right.
Because you know what? Like you said, how long does it really take to film one of these things? These are young actors. They're going to grow up. This can't be a 5-season-long thing with people staying the same age and pretending that, this happens over the course of just a few months. Maybe they make Curse of the Corn People. Maybe it goes well, and maybe they go on to make another thing in their hometown. I want to find out about these kids making several projects in this tiny town. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Well, that's what it's all about. The real show is about these kids in a small town and what they've gone through and what they're trying to do.
I completely agree.
Of course you do.
Do you completely Final Descent?
Final Descent. I got that for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we start our descent, please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright position.
Kick it!
IMDb score. This is the part of the program, the Final Descent, where we say, not only did we see this program, but plenty of other people have access to it and can see it as well. Other people have rated it. Other people have commented on it. Let's dig into some of that right now. IMDb, Internet Movie Database score, from 14 ratings, this has a score of
8.4.
That's exactly right.
Oh.
So that's pretty high. That's a high-end score.
When I saw this score, I was like, I went and looked. I was like, how many people talked about this? It's the Baldwin family basically have rated this.
Yeah, each of them had their turn. Critic reviews. Picks and Pans review, Curse of the Corn People by John Stark from July 31st, 1989. This aired on CBS, as we know, from the Summer Playhouse. This is giving a rating of D+ by John Stark, and he goes on to say, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. You can shuck this one. And that's the end of the corn jokes. This hour-long drama is about a group of friends in their early 20s who live in Kansas. In order to earn some money and improve their lives, they decide to make a low-budget horror movie called Curse of the Corn People.
Poor people. You said poor people.
I did say that. I'm a little buzzed. Which is about a feminist zombie who stalks farmers. Although this sounds like a wonderful framework for a film about making a film, there's a severe creative drought. The drama, with a script as flat as the landscape, lacks any charm or wit or warmth. Frank Cabell stars with Holly Hagen and Kate Reed. Now, I don't think they star with them. Those are the names of the characters. So I don't know why they didn't just use the actual names of the actors, but that's one critic's review anyway. One viewer review, and that says, someone has got to have it. March 3rd, 2008. This is by Austin Mannix. And he says, I can't select a rating because, one, I don't know if it ever aired, and two, I was too young to see it, according to my mother. This was filmed outside Central High School in Greeley, Colorado, while my sister was attending school there. Does anyone out there have a recording of the show or who I can get in contact with? My sis's B-Day is next month, and I'm trying to compile movies for her for our time that I know she has a connection to. Come on, help a boy out. Does anyone have any info on this production? I understand that it was a summer series. Thanks, Nick Mannix from Tarzana, California. So this is 2 weeks in a row where someone is begging for information on how to see this. Right. I will go as far as to say I tried to find Nick Mannix on the only social media that I use, and that's Twitter. I found him to no avail. Yikes. Anyway, Yikes. Landing. Go ahead and hit landing there.
Which one? Which one is?
Do it immediately.
Do you know which one it is?
Do it right now.
What's it say on it?
Yeah, go ahead right now, please.
What does it say?
It says landing. Are you paying attention?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to FCF Airport. Local time is 11:11 and the temperature is 69 degrees. For your safety and comfort, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the captains turn off the fasten seatbelt sign.
Hit it!
As we wind down here, it's time for you and I to unveil our ratings to the world for this pilot, Curse of the Corn People. We do so by assigning a grading scale 1 to 7, based on the scale of from the characters from the program affectionately and accurately known as Wings. We'll start with the worst score you can get, and that is the recently deceased Roy Biggins, all the way up to the best score you can get, and that's a number 7, a gentleman goes by the name of Brian Hackett. Captain Philip, rest assured, I turn to you. How do you rate Curse of the Corn People?
The title alone screwed me for the whole show. It threw me off. It was nothing like what I watched. I checked the time. This is one of the things that we talk about. How many times do you check the time left on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I tell you, sometimes we watch things for the CBS Summer Playhouse, and it might be like a 22-minute sitcom. This happened to be, I feel like this is kind of a comedy drama, maybe a little bit more on the drama side, and this rounded out to be about 45 minutes.
Yeah, and I checked it 3 times. I couldn't get into it. I kept thinking about the title, Curse of the Corn People.
Yeah.
And I think you made a great statement earlier about how name it about the name of the town, or name it something else to do with what it was really about. It wasn't about the movie they were making. It was about the making of the movie.
Well, that's why I was saying maybe it was a thing where they had a couple other titles involved, but they're like, you know what, screw it. We can call it whatever the hell we want to call it because it didn't go to series and no one cares.
Right.
But I totally agree with you here.
I'm going to give this a John Stark, and I'm going to give it a 1.
Well, that is Roy Biggins, and you give it a 1?
No, John Stark. Earlier, he gave the review. John Stark gave a review. I agree with it perfectly. It's a 1. Roy Biggins, John Stark, it's a 1. It's horrible.
Wow.
It's awful. Eli gave it a 2. I gave it a 1.
Wow. Okay. That's very low. What do I rate it, you ask? Well, funny you should say.
Awesome!
To the fellow we talked to earlier, I believe his name was Darren Daulton, and this is a very interesting idea. And a lot of times movies or TV shows are based on an interesting idea, and sometimes they're just not. A lot of the times on film or on TV right now, you have, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a police officer, and that's the majority of your dramas. This is something else entirely. This reminded me a little bit of things like Northern Exposure, quirky, weird, small town stuff. I like the small town setting. I think it's interesting. I think it's fun that we have these different characters who have full-time jobs, who dedicate their lives to doing this on the weekend. I think we spend enough time with each of these characters to get to know them a little bit. There are parts that maybe weren't. I don't know. Like I said, there's too much focus on the minutiae sometimes of the actual positioning and making of the film. But there's a lot of ground you can cover here, and there's a lot of great stuff. I enjoyed this. I think this is cool. I think this is fun. I think you change the name, and every season you're working on a different project, maybe with different people. Maybe one season you go to a different location. That's another small town. There's a lot of stuff that could happen with this, and I think it was well cast. I think it was well acted. I had a lot of fun with it. I give it a 6.
Wow.
I like this show. I really did.
Have we ever been this far off before?
The thing that comes to mind immediately is the show B-Men. Do you remember that?
No.
That was a show about the two guys who almost kind of like, not fight crime, but they capture these guys. They're the one with Pauly Shore where he was in the classroom.
Okay, yeah.
I remember you hated that, and I liked that one.
Wow.
We do have our differences on occasion, and I have to say that this is one of them because in the end, you give it a 1.
Can't do it.
And I give it a 6. And with that, we close the book on Curse of the Corn People, and we will never speak of that show again.
Yeah.
But join us next time, won't you please, when we watch the pilot episode, I hope you're ready to write this down, of The Jane Powell Show. Here's a little something to wet your whistle. Casey McKay is an actress-singer who impulsively marries Jeffrey Edwards, a math professor, and then struggles to fit into his campus life at a small California town. You can find the entire episode of The Jane Powell Show by subscribing to Couch Pilots and SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app of choice, and then simply click on one of our classically blue links in our show notes, or go to YouTube. Blake?
You know what to do, too.
Amen to that. You like what you heard today? You want to hear more of it? I can't imagine that's the case, but if you do, go to couchpilotspodcast.com. It's the one-stop shop for every way to connect, to reach out, to engage with this podcast, as well contains our entire back catalog, almost 230 episodes strong at this point, of Couch Pilots. We have Facebook and Twitter, and you can send us an email at couchpilotspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to give us a call, you can hear what your dumb voice sounds like straight live on this podcast. It's 910-PILOTS-1, 910-745-6871. And if you're feeling extra saucy, extra generous, go to patreon.com, search out Couch Pilots, and then you can donate money to the show to help us keep the lights on.
Good job. That was great.
Thank you very much. Are you losing your mind at all with this quarantine? We're at the end of the show. Let's get real, man. I hate not being able to go places socially.
No, yeah, for sure. I really hate the fact that I can't bowl. Wii bowling and PBA bowling on the PlayStation just doesn't do it for me. But I will tell you what I miss the most. Are you ready?
Please.
I miss you. I miss Kevin. I miss Scott. I miss interacting with you guys.
What about Dustin?
I don't ever see him. I miss him, sure.
Okay.
No, I really miss interactions with certain people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's a very bizarre thing.
How bizarre?
Very bizarre. Thank you for getting that in there. My daughter's 14. And I think at a certain age in your life, you just kind of accept things as they are, as you kind of accepted Trevor at one point. So to her, this may not be a thing, but for me, being damn near an old man
Sure.
at the almost age of 40, this has never happened to me before. This is a really weird thing that is happening, not just in Illinois or the Peoria area, but the entire world.
You know, it was funny because when it first started, everybody the governor says shut down. I was at the Moose. They were closing at 5:00. I was sitting next to one guy. The guy to my left of me was probably in his 60s or 70s. The guy to the right of me was in his 60s or 70s. And this is a month and a half ago. By this time this comes out, and I said, Bill, Bob, I said, have you ever seen anything like this before? And this was at the beginning, and they both looked at me and they said, no, they've been through Vietnam. They've been through World War II. And they're like, no. And Bob even said, today I went to the bank and took all my money out.
Wow.
And so it's like, and so like for me, I'm 45, you're 30 something, 39, right? Pretty close. But anyway, like there's nothing in our lives that's ever been like this. And
I was just talking to someone too recently, and kind of having the same conversation. They're like, "Yeah, I've never experienced anything like this, but my mom had a brother that way back when they had polio, and there was quarantines for polio, and this was like 80 years ago, maybe longer." So like the closest thing that we've ever had to this is several generations removed, and talking about like an archaic term like polio.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's the closest thing that we can talk about, and it's been damn near a century.
And I just want to say, for the record, that China has fudged their numbers. We are not higher than they are. China had way more people than we are, but they fudged their numbers. That's what I got to say.
This, if you really want to get into that, there are no numbers.
Oh no,
If anyone wants to say this is a number and this is a number, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Because those are the people who have been tested. For every one person that's been tested, there's probably at least 100, if not 1,000 people who have this that we just don't know. It's either passed through them or killed them, or they're getting through it, and we just haven't had them tested. So numbers mean almost nothing at this point. All that we know is that we're not stacking bodies up on the street, and that's a pretty fucking good sign. So I think overall we will get through this. This will be fine. There will be some casualties, unfortunately, but let's not paint this like it's the end of the world, and let's not for a moment paint it like we know exactly what's going on, because we don't. Is it political driven? Is it a attack that someone is doing from a different country? We don't know. What this is to me is a disease that we don't have a grasp on, and the numbers and the news is irrelevant until we're able to come up with a vaccine.
R.I.P. Joe Diffie.
R.I.P. Joe Diffie, my friend, a person I've met before, and married to a schoolmate of mine. That is so wild that he's gone. He was a nice guy. Joe Diffie, rest in peace. Do you have a message of positivity beyond that this evening, Blake?
I think you killed it. You did a great job. I just remember, everybody, to love each other, but do it from 6 feet away. But you have the internet. The internet can put a person in Australia in touch with a person in California. It can put a person in Canada in touch with a person from South America. Do it. Take the time to do it. If there's somebody that you have met over the years, but you have lost touch with, make the effort, right? Just make the effort and just, hey, check in on them. Don't do it just via text. Don't do it via Facebook Messenger. Video them. Say, hey, how's it going? Here's my face. I'm alive. Are you alive? Let's talk.
What a great note to go out on.
Thank you.
I mirror those sentiments exactly, and I will end it by saying this pilot may have been rough, but it is always a smooth flight here on Couch Pilots. Thanks, everyone, and we shall see you next time.
Love you guys. Stay safe.
On behalf of Couch Pilots and the entire crew, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we are looking forward to seeing you on board again in the near future. Have a nice day.